What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this one, we have UK Supershells are obliterating Russian armor. Putin can't counter. Before we dive in, if you guys have it to enjoy, please don't forget to subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is hit the join button to receive your exclusive benefits. Let's get to it.
Picture the steppe at sunrise. A Russian armored column crawls forward, turrets scanning, drone jammers humming, commanders convinced they've learned every lesson of this war. Then the horizon flashes. A single shell arcs in, then another. Moments later, two armored hulls bloom with fire like steel flowers, and a third shudders to a halt, turret cracked open like a tin can. Somewhere behind the lines, a Ukrainian gun crew reloads, and a British instructor grins like a proud mechanic listening to a perfectly tuned engine. This is the age of the supershell, simple metal made smart by targeting, training, and sheer tonnage, and the United Kingdom is feeding the guns. Ukraine began this war outnumbered in tanks and guns, so the West built it a spine of anti-armor tools. The British piece of that spine was immediate and personal, the humble NLAW. One soldier, one shot, top attack, goodbye turret. By mid-2024, London had supplied over 12,000 anti-tank missiles, a haul that mattered in the early battles around Kiev and Kharkiv, and continues to matter as Russian formations push for advantage along a front that never stops changing. When a T-72 or T-90 tries to nose into a village at dawn, it learns that a single Ukrainian private, properly trained, can be more dangerous than an entire company used to be. The UK made that private possible. While Sweden gets headlines for a smart artillery shell that hunts armor from above, the UK went for something both simpler and, in wartime math, deadlier. Volume plus precision where it counts. Britain has quietly shipped Ukraine over 500,000 rounds of artillery ammunition, enough to turn fronts into foundries and Russian columns into case studies. It's not glamorous, it is decisive. And yes, London has layered in precision when the mission calls for it, funding guns and networks that let Ukraine launch GPS-guided rounds, the kind of long-range pinpricks that shatter bridges, command posts, and the morale of brigades who thought distance was safety. Let's pause on the supershell concept, because it's not just marketing. Smart top-attack munitions like Sweden's bonus have proved something unnerving for Russian crews. If you can be seen from above, you can be killed from above in seconds. Submunition spin, scan with infrared and LiDAR, discriminate targets, and punch straight through the thin crown of a tank. Smoke? Irrelevant. Jammers? Useless. Even hard kill defenses can't swat what they can't see in time. That lesson haunts every Russian platoon leader plotting a road march, and Ukraine has used it, repeatedly, to rip open armored columns before they can deploy. Now, the British piece of the kill chain. On January 16th...
Yeah, this sound absolutely, that weapon sound absolutely terrifying. The weapon that's coming at you from above, you're not seeing that coming. You're not, and it's dropping, I'm sure, at a ridiculous amount of speed. It's GPS guided, so more than likely it's going to hit its target, and it's going to shred your armor. It's going to shred whatever tank you're in, it doesn't matter. My God, this is insanity. I'm telling y'all, bro. It's starting to get scary how far humans can go. Like when people thought, when the nuclear bomb was made, it was scary. It was a scary thing to the world. It was like, should we be going this far? But we pushed to a level of insanity and we're not done. It's scary, but also fascinating.
2025, London set a record, £4.5 billion in military support for the year, hardware, ammo, and the logistics to keep it firing. It wasn't a one-off. The UK has promised to sustain at least £3 billion annually through 2030/31, wartime predictability in a world addicted to headlines. In April, ministers layered on a fresh £450 million package featuring radar, anti-tank mines, repair cash to keep donated vehicles at the front, and, say it with me, hundreds of thousands of drones. If you're wondering why Russian battalion commanders disperse their vehicles now like nervous cats, this is why. The UK isn't just sending shells, it's funding the eyes and the maintenance bays that make every shell count. About those drones. In June 2025, Britain went bigger than anyone expected, targeting a tenfold surge from 10,000 drones last year to 100,000 by the end of the current financial year. Think quadcopters mass-printed like leaflets, FPVs cued by AI, and reconnaissance platforms feeding artillery missions in minutes. That
So in a year, you can up your output 10 times.
isn't a gadget story, it's an industrial story, the kind that turns every platoon into a combined arms team and every Russian revetment into a provisional grave. London is putting £350 million behind that scale-up, and deliveries are already stacking up. If artillery is the hammer, drones are the plumb line. Together, they make straight work of crooked trenches. Somewhere in Zaporizhzhia, a Ukrainian sergeant just told a rookie, Rule 1, if you hear a whir, it's a drone. Rule 2, if you don't hear a whir, it's a better drone. The rookie asked where it came from. The sergeant shrugged, probably Britain, or Latvia with British money. Either way, wave. If that sounds flippant, remember that humor floats in hard water. Drones and shells aren't abstractions, they're survival kits for boys who'd rather be home. Back to the metal. Britain didn't only arm Ukraine's infantry and guns, it also sent steel with a name. Challenger 2s, 14 of them, rolled to Ukraine and, according to multiple reports, rolled further than anyone predicted. During Ukraine's bold incursion into Russia's Kursk region, those big British cats reportedly prowled on the other side of the border. That's not just a morale stomp, it's a legal and political marker. British kit used for Ukrainian operations on Russian soil, validated by London's stance that Kyiv can hit back where the launch sites are. Moscow's propaganda machine hates that image. British armor in Russia, because it screams what they can't admit. The front lines are now wherever Ukraine makes them. And the guns those tanks roll with, increasingly, they're part of a precision ecosystem. Ukraine has fielded Excalibur, the US-designed GPS-guided 155mm round. Anything in that caliber class, Crab, Caesar, Archer, can loft those into a target's pocket. The UK's leadership of the International Fund for Ukraine has helped finance artillery systems and ammunition that keep this precision alive even as partners scramble to boost production. Translate that into battlefield math. Fewer shells per kill, more kills per hour. Logistics wins wars, precision shortens them. If Russia's answer is jam the sky, smart submunitions and well-trained gunnery crews grin back. The bonus case studies are instructive here. Vehicles struck from above with almost comic cruelty, turrets blown free, internal explosions snuffing crews in seconds. Even Russia's attempts at hard-kill excellence, Arena M for example, mean little against supersonic downward shots that sensors can't catch in time. That truth, learned the hard way in Donetsk and Luhansk, reverberates into 2025. Armor can't mass like it used to, and Russia's war machine designed around mass keeps being told to disperse and hide. It's losing the war it wanted to fight and being forced to fight the war Britain and its allies prepared Ukraine to win. Now, UK training, the other half of lethality. The British-led Operation Interflex has trained over 56,000 Ukrainian soldiers by mid-2025, and London has extended the program through 2026. The syllabus isn't a museum tour of NATO doctrine. It's stripped-down survival plus combined arms thinking for a transparent battlefield. Recruits learn to call fire with drones, hug ground under glide bomb threat, and coordinate infantry, armor, and EW like they were born doing it. You can hear that in the radio discipline and see it in the tempo of Ukrainian counter-battery missions. The difference between will try and will fix, strike, and move. Here's where reforms become results. In 2025, the UK didn't just fling money and hope at Ukraine, it began hardwiring a sustainable pipeline. The £4.5 billion line item outer wraps everything from ASRAM stocks for air defense to drone coalitions and artillery coalitions. And behind the
I'm like, the UK, from this video, it sounded like the UK finna goddamn win this war for the Ukraine. They sending ammunition, they sending tanks, they sending money, they're sending top tier weapons. It looked like, and I know a lot of other countries are sending a lot of other things too. And so it feels like a community effort to beat Russia. But shout out to these UK Supershells and every other weapon that they're sending and all the money that they're sending. And the drones and just, And it also sounds like you don't want no smoke with the UK. Like they got weapons for days, and they're increasing the amount of money they're giving the military. So, my God,
Press
shout
releases
out to
lives the
this is
unsexy stuff:
insane.
spares, fast-track
Oh
maintenance,
my
field repairs,
day.
which Britain explicitly funded in April so that donated vehicles don't become roadside exhibits. In plain English, keep the Challengers, CV-90s, Leopards, and M100s 13 alive long enough to matter, and you multiply every shell's effect. The Kremlin reads
Facts.
those logistics lines and sees a worst-case scenario. The West finally
Facts.
treating war like a production problem. Russia's kill chain has adapted too. Faster counter battery, better drone integration, dispersed lines. That's why volume matters, and why the UK's 500,000+ shells aren't just numbers but a hedge against a smarter enemy. You beat speed with saturation and beat dispersion with precision, and London is buying both, then teaching Ukraine to stitch them together. It's ugly arithmetic. It's also how you crack an army that still believes armor columns make history. Let's talk British anti-tank weapons up close. NLAWs remain the door kickers of choice when a BMP noses around a corner in Avdiivka or a T-72 tries to crash a farmyard south of Kupiansk. Their top attack mode punishes complacent commanders. Their ease of use collapses training timelines. But the true British signature is how these shoulder-fired killers mesh with the rest of the toolbox. Artillery that answers a drone spot in minutes, EW that blinds Russian quadcopters long enough to move, armor that rolls just far enough to bait a reaction, then darts back while the guns do the real work. If Russia's plan was to grind Ukraine with steel, Britain's plan was to grind steel with brains. The 2025 drone surge supercharges that mesh. 100,000 drones is not a headline, it's a change in how units think. Platoons now build their own ISR bubbles. Companies own strike options that used to live at brigade or corps level. Artillery becomes scalpel and sledgehammer on demand. When London writes £350 million next to drones, it's underwriting a doctrinal shift where every squad leader is a fires coordinator and every terrain feature is pre-registered by kids with tablets and a sense of humor that would terrify your grandmother. Russians disperse to survive. Drones make dispersion a map of targets instead of a defense. And yes, the UK still believes in the big guns. That 500,000 round milestone tells you more than any op-ed. When shells are short, units go quiet. When shells arrive by the trainload, units improvise and attack. Britain has also thrown its weight behind the artillery coalitions that keep 155mm lines hot and 152mm Soviet-caliber stopgaps flowing, funding procurement through the UK-led International Fund for Ukraine and partnering governments. Every pallet that crosses the Polish border says the same thing. We're not letting this grind stall. The longer the war lasts, the more that sentence matters. Precision still has its place. Excalibur rounds have had a complicated war, brilliant in some missions, degraded by jamming in others, but the capability itself is non-negotiable. When a Russian S-300 radar or a pontoon bridge needs to die on the first shot, GPS-guided 155mm is the cheapest, fastest way short of a Storm Shadow. The UK isn't the Excalibur supplier, but it has funded platforms and logistics that let Ukraine fire them, and it has orchestrated coalition spending that keeps NATO-caliber guns in Ukrainian hands. Think of London as the conductor who doesn't...
London, UK, they out here absolutely conducting everything behind the scenes. You feel me? Yeah, we can control this. We got just do what we said. We got y'all. God dang, so many British-made weapons is so effective. And that I don't know what that robot machine with the missiles that weapon is, but that just look horrifying.
play violin, but knows how to make the violins louder. Time to revisit the no counter claim. Is any weapon truly unstoppable? Number, but the combination Britain is building, mass artillery, mass drones, disciplined small unit tactics, and smart top attack munitions, has forced Russia into costly adaptations with diminishing returns. Smoke doesn't fool bonus-style seekers. Active protection can't see a supersonic punch from the zenith. Dispersed formations reduce the carnage of one strike but increase exposure to constant low-signature drone hits and precision artillery. The UK approach isn't a silver bullet. It's a bucket of lead poured with exquisite timing. Try countering that. Strategic impact? Start with the Kursk and Belgorod fronts. Ukraine's ability to cross the line and hold ground, however
Yeah,
limited,
that's insane.
came from a blend
That's
of
insane.
infantry nerve, drone eyes, and artillery teeth. Reports of British challengers operating in that theater were less about the number of tanks and more about permission structures. London had already signaled that Ukrainian strikes deep into Russia were legitimate self-defense when aimed at launch sites and logistics. Armor following the drones sent a message to Moscow's border guards and political elite alike: the war you export can be imported. Meanwhile, the April 2025 UK package quietly removed a constraint that kills offensives more reliably than any missile: downtime. Cash for repairs and maintenance means battalions stay at strength, not parked while waiting for a part that isn't coming. Add radars for counter-battery and anti-tank mines for the defense-in-depth Ukraine must maintain, and you get a front line that bleeds less and hits more. It's not cinematic, but generals don't fight for cinematics. They fight for readiness rates. Training sits over all of this like a canopy. Interflex doesn't just teach trigger pulls, it teaches synchronization. Air defense crews practice with the same urgency as gunners. Drone pilots speak the same language as platoon leaders. Logistics officers learn that the fastest route is the one your EW team can protect. London's decision to extend training through 2026 is an admission that this war is a marathon of thinking, not a sprint of heroics. A brigade that can integrate new kit in weeks, not months, is a brigade that turns donations into victories. Let's zoom out to what Britain itself changed in 2025.
This is so freaking incredible, because you gotta think, when it comes to UK, they might not be the biggest country, might not be the most richest country, might not be the most powerful country, but when it comes to war, they are the most battle-tested country. They are the most experienced country. And so therefore, if there is a country maybe to take direction from when it comes to war, to let them lead, it's the UK.
The £4.5 billion line is the headline, but the pledge of no less than £3 billion a year until 2030/31 is the heart. That's industrial signaling, to BAE factories spinning up shell lines, to small firms churning out FPV kits, to allies calibrating their own budgets. It tells Putin that time isn't his ally, that Western will isn't a one-winter phenomenon. Pair that with UK-led coalition mechanisms like the IFU, and you're looking at an ecosystem where a need in Kharkiv becomes a contract in Bristol and a delivery in Lviv before the next freeze. And to the question every Russian tanker asks under his breath, can we adapt past this? They've tried, and in some areas improved. Faster kill chains, better counter battery, more lancets. But you can't disperse your way out of 1,000 eyes, and you can't hard kill a submunition you never saw. The British bet is that mass, when married to brains, beats any set of patch-and-pray countermeasures. It's working where it matters, in the attrition curves, in the tempo of Ukrainian raids, and in the corrosion of Russian political theater every time a video of a top attack bloom hits the feed. 3 quick A-sides before we land the plane. First, yes, 500,000 shells is a terrifying number. It's also a moral one when the alternative is asking infantry to take ground with nothing but grit and prayers. Second, no, drones will not replace humans entirely. They'll just make the humans who remain heartbreakingly effective. Third, if you hear a British staff officer call drones flying Kalashnikovs, be kind. Military humor ages like MRE cheese. The UK has done something profoundly unfashionable in modern politics. It picked a strategy and stuck to it. Arm Ukraine to survive up close. NLAW. Arm Ukraine to bleed the enemy at range. Artillery mass. Arm Ukraine to find and fix drones. Train Ukraine to stitch it all together. Interflex. Fund it not for a season, but for a plan. The £3 billion through 2030 pledge. In that orchestra, Supershells aren't just high-tech curios, they're the main theme. Some are truly smart, like bonus-style killers. Some are smart enough when paired with GPS or a cheap quadcopter. All are lethal in the British arrangement that makes every round a question to which a Russian tank has only one honest answer. Russia can jam, disperse, armor up, and pray. It can rename its doctrines and reshuffle its generals. What it can't do, what it has not done, is make its armor immune to a sky full of eyes and a battle space where every British-funded shell has a job. That's why the columns that used to roll now creep. That's why Kursk stopped being a safe word. And that's why if London keeps this cadence, money steady, shells flowing, drones multiplying, training unrelenting, the phrase Putin can't counter won't be a taunt. It'll be a record of how a mid-sized island power taught a continental empire the oldest lesson in war: precision beats pride, every single time.
Mhm. And it absolutely does. Shout out to the UK. I'm telling you, yeah, if it's any country to take guidance, to take directions, it's the UK. It's definitely the UK. That's all we got. I hope that y'all enjoyed. If so, please don't forget to subscribe, give it a bit of thumbs up, check out the next